All right, news just coming in from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has now referred the case of Rajiv Gandhi's assassins to a constitutional bench. The constitutional bench will decide whether the state government has the right to pardon or remit the sentence of these convicts. That's the big news coming in from the Supreme Court, which has now referred the case of Rajiv Gandhi's killers to a larger constitutional bench. For more, let me quickly go across to headlines today's Pankaj Upadhyay, who's now joining us from outside the Supreme Court. Pankaj, for one, does it mean that the killers of Rajiv Gandhi who have been convicted will continue to remain in jail, at least for now?
Absolutely, and it is the constitutional bench which will comprise of 5 members which are going to take a decision on this, whether the state government has the right to release these convicts. In general cases, after a convict has spent 14 years in the prison, then the state manual clearly says that the state government has the right under the appropriate authority to grant a remission under technical grounds to the convict. But the state this time round had contended that this was a serious issue and that the Prime Minister of the country had been assassinated. It was a serious issue, and for this very reason, now the apex body has taken a decision and has maintained that the constitutional bench comprising of 5 members will now take a decision whether technically it is feasible for the state government to take a decision as far as these convicts are concerned. But by the time this member committee is formed and they take a decision, these convicts are going to remain in prison.
All right, just stay on with us. Let's also get a reaction in from Chennai. Joining us is my colleague Priyamvada from Chennai. Priyamvada, now this decision comes from the Supreme Court a day after Tamil Nadu went to polls. So clearly it may not have a direct bearing there, but it remains an emotive issue. How will this play out in Tamil Nadu?
Well, Ruchika, at this point of time, I'm with the mother of Sarah Revalan and others, and they have decided to wait and watch. Obviously, they know that such an important decision cannot be delivered by a single judge or a two-member judges, a bench comprising of these 2 members. So they know that it will take time. It's a long process. So it will take another 10 to 15 days for the to be formed and the orders to be delivered. But as of now, they're hopeful because at least they haven't got a verdict which is against them. And also, they should look at the timing of this entire process. On 24th, Tamil Nadu went for polls, and it was exactly a month before Jayalalitha passed this order. And in between, 1 week before, we saw the Chief Justice of India saying that before this retirement, he will deliver the judgment. And then we saw Tamil Nadu, DMK chief criticizing the Chief Justice interview to news channels and newspapers in Coimbatore. And on 25th, it has been decided that it will be shifted to a 5-member bench. It basically means that they need consensus on such a big issue of letting off the killers of the former Prime Minister of India. So they want to get in views from everyone. This is something that the centre also has been pressing for. So finally, they have heeded to that. So they don't want. They want this to be a very, very fair judgment, and that's the reason why the case has been referred to a 5-member judge. So now the process begins. Choose those 5 members, and when it will be formed and when the verdict will be out. I'm sure it's a long process, Ruchika.
Yes, a long process here on again. It's been several years and it goes on. We have Pankaj Upadhyay still with us from outside the Supreme Court. There are a plethora of conflicting legal provisions that many in the judiciary have pointed out, many experts, judicial experts have pointed out, which makes the Supreme Court's task really complicated here, as it looks to find a way whether the state government can remit a sentence which was by a judicial order which came under a central law. Is that the reason why we're going to see a full judge bench look at this issue afresh?
Ruchika, this is a very important case. This is a very emotive issue for the people of Tamil Nadu. But then this was the case where the Prime Minister of our country was assassinated. So this had never happened before, in the sense that it becomes a very serious issue. And it is for this very reason that the apex court, realizing that this was a legal tussle between the centre and the state government, has constituted now a bench. Now, let us also take this aspect into consideration that no time frame has been given. So it will be a very long, drawn-out process by the time this constitutional bench decides on the legalities of the issue. Centre, on its part, has clearly stated that Yes, of course, there are provisions, and the state manual clearly says that once the convict has passed that 14-year limit, the appropriate authority in the state could grant remission. But then it also says that this is an excess jurisdiction, looking at the seriousness of the case, and that this is a clear breach of Article 21, which grants the right to the family of the victims, and the union of the country has the right to protect the families as well. Yes, Jayalalitha on her part had clearly stated that she is the appropriate and the rightful authority, and that she was well within her rights to release this convict. But definitely, as of now, what has gone against the state government is the fact that this is a serious issue and that the Prime Minister of the country was assassinated. But then here, this is, as I said, a legal conflict. One, there was a conflict on the maintainability of the plea, whether the centre could file a plea against the state. Secondly, when Jayalalitha said she was well within her rights, but then the centre had contended, the CBI was the body that had investigated the matter, and there are certain provisions of the central government that had been imposed here, and the state government on its own part individually could not take a decision. It was this precise reason why the case and the tangles had to come in the apex court. Now it remains on the decision of the constitutional bench as to how it sees this entire case, how it looks at the past cases where the decision has been given by the Supreme Court, how does it look at the seriousness of the entire case wherein the Prime Minister of our country has been assassinated. It is only after looking at the various viewpoints, finally it will come out with a decision whether the state government, whether the government of Tamil Nadu has the right to give remission to these convicts, even though they have crossed the 14-year limit. In fact, many of them have completed the 23-year term. So legal experts, Ruchika, lastly, if I may add, also opine that at some point of time you have to realize what purpose is it going to serve. At the age of 60 or 70, once the convict is still in jail, the question is again going to come up whether it has served the purpose of keeping that convict in jail. So this is a very legal issue, a serious issue when the Prime Minister of the country was assassinated. Now finally it rests on this 5-member constitutional bench to take a decision.
All right, I want to go across to Priyamvada. Priyamvada, the 7 people that we're looking at, the 7 convicts who are listed in this case, they have been in Tamil Nadu jail for the last 20 years or so. The decision that the Supreme Court has taken today, giving no relief to these assassins of Rajiv Gandhi, means that they will continue to stay in prison despite that flicker of hope that came, for these assassins and their families soon after Jayalalitha announced their freedom.
Just a while back, Perarivalan's mother, Arbuda Ammal, spoke to us, and she said that she never expected that this case will be shifted to a 5-member bench, and she was expecting the verdict to be delivered in favor, because when the state government is backing her and her son, so why wouldn't the court? That was her argument. And now anyway she says that they're ready to wait, because they've waited for so many years, and they're ready to wait for a couple of more weeks probably before when the 5-member bench will deliver this judgment. But Ruchika, this entire case has been waived. The commutation of the death sentence happened only because of the delay in processing the case, only because of the delay in rejecting their mercy plea or accepting their mercy plea. Only because of that inordinate delay, the entire case was based, and the Supreme Court, consisting of Chief Justice Assasin, had passed the order saying that the death sentence of all the 3 should be commuted. In Tamil Nadu, it's more or less a political issue. We have seen the state which has been completely supporting for the Lankan cause, Tamil cause, and this is the state where after 2009, LTP leader Prabhakaran has been worshipped as a god. So all the political parties, despite their differences, were unanimous in seeking commutation of the death sentence. And they say also the release of all the convicts involved in this particular case. But we have also seen how the politicians in Tamil Nadu have changed their stand constantly according to their political will. The same Jayalalitha and Karunanidhi both had spoken against these convicts, and they were against the commutation of the death sentence. Especially the MK chief had referred in the assembly saying that he was against the death sentence, against the commutation of the death sentence of these convicts. But eventually, when the war got over, when Tamil sentiments were really high here in the state, he changed his stand. So
It's a
not just
complex
an
case.
emotional-
It's a complex case, Priyamvada, as you were saying, and I want to go across to Pankaj on that. Even as we talk about the legal tangles here, and of course the fact that it remains a deeply emotive subject for people in Tamil Nadu. There is also this political angle, considering Rahul Gandhi, who is the son of former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, this year said that if someone like a Prime Minister of this country gets killed and his killers are released, then how will a common man in this country get justice? It's an issue that has been raked up by several other political parties as well. So it remains to be seen how this plays out in days ahead.
Ruchika, more than the emotive issue, the constitutional bench is now really going to look at the legal aspects of it. We do understand what kind of political ramifications this ultimately, if the decision was finalized, could have taken in the state of Tamil Nadu, and that it could have had some kind of brownie points for the other political parties and the other political stalwarts in South India. But then the apex body, after having set this constitutional bench, will now definitely come out with a landmark judgment. It will be decided that on such cases which has such seriousness backed by it, whether the state manual, which clearly gives the right to the state government to take a complete decision as far as the convicts are concerned, whether they would well be within their rights, or whether in such cases there would be certain technical tangles as well. As I maintained, Jayalalitha was very vociferous when she maintained that she was well within her rights and that she was the appropriate body, as had been spelled out by the apex body,
Right.
that after 14 years, an appropriate body could take a decision. Earlier, it was the apex body that had commuted the death sentence into life imprisonment. But here, the legal aspect, which the centre is putting up, saying that this
Right.
is an excess jurisdiction on part of the state government. Here is the Prime Minister of a country which has been assassinated. Article 21, the rights of the families of the victims, that has to be taken into consideration as well. The union has to take care of the families as well. Now, these are the larger questions which have been put now before
Right.
the constitutional bench, which has to be taken into consideration now.
Pankaj Upadhyay and Priyamvada, thank you both for joining us on that big story. So no final word yet on Rajiv Gandhi's assassin. The Supreme Court has referred this case to a constitutional bench. In the meantime, Rajiv Gandhi's killers will continue to remain in jail in Tamil Nadu.